everybody, so we've got a fun review today as we're discussing Spy Kids Armageddon. Now, if you grew up in the 2000s, you probably have some level of nostalgia towards the Spy Kids franchise. Those films were just so much fun, had a lot of charm behind them, and other than some shoddy VFX work, I would say overall the stories hold up. The fourth film, however, we kind of just ignore that one. In my mind, a lot of the time, it's kind of just a Spy Kids trilogy. Still, nevertheless, Armageddon is the fifth entry in the franchise, and now we're getting a Netflix film debuting today. I'm probably going to touch upon some spoilers here just because the embargo does lift when the film releases on Netflix, so just your fair warning when we talk about the film at large. When a game developer unleashes a powerful computer virus, it's up to the children of secret agents to work together and become spies themselves to save their parents and the world. Since Spy Kids Armageddon is a reboot of the franchise with no connections or ties to the previous films, I do think it is kind of interesting that Robert Rodriguez is returning to reboot his own franchise. This time around, he even has one of his children, his son, writing the film with him. So I find it commendable that Robert Rodriguez clearly has a lot of passion for the Spy Kids franchise, and now with Spy Kids Armageddon, he wants to try and recapture that magic that we loved growing up with the franchise for a more modern audience. Sadly, however, I do feel like Armageddon fails in a lot of those aspects. Similar to one of Rodriguez's recent films, We Can Be Heroes, Spy Kids Armageddon very clearly is targeted towards a very young audience. The plot is very straightforward, basically using the same exact structure as the original film, mixed with elements of the third film. Kids are forced to become spies to save their parents from a diabolical villain, along with their usual level of humor catered towards younger children. You would think because you're utilizing elements from the first Spy Kids film and the third Spy Kids film, which a lot of people enjoy, the film will be successful in some shape or form. But one of the major problems that this film has compared to that original trilogy of films is this entry just lacks a lot of the heart and charm or anything to get you invested in this adventure, unlike what we saw in those original Spy Kids films. Unlike with the Cortez family, the family in Armageddon, the Tango Terezes, they just lack all personality. Gina Rodriguez and Zachary Levi, all controversies aside, I do think they have showcased before they're pretty good actors. I don't know what happened in Armageddon, but I just do not buy them as parents. Each time they're on screen together, performance-wise, it just comes across extremely flat, and the spy stuff between the two of them, also not very exciting. If anything, when they show them trying to be these cool, badass spies, they come across extremely lame. Then you throw on top of it, I just don't think these people have chemistry with one another. Whenever they try to have these romantic exchanges, you don't buy for a second that they're actually a married couple or have two children. The main element driving forward this movie is the kids and them becoming spies. Now, the two kids here, Tony and Patty, there are at least a couple sequences that evoke some fun when they're training themselves to become spies, using these different types of spy gadgetry, and a couple of these over-the-top fights which don't look great visually, but the gadgetry used in these fights are pretty cool. Generally, I don't like to rag on children performances just because they are kids after all and they're learning and growing. But here in Armageddon, I don't think either of these two kids were giving a great performance, particularly when it comes to delivering lines of dialogue believably. You could chalk that up to multiple different factors: lack of direction, or the fact that they have to act almost exclusively in front of a green screen the majority of the film. Or another major thing I found disappointing, going back to the original films again, there just is a severe lack of supporting characters. Back in those original films, we had some cool characters for our kids to bounce off of, whether it's Cheech Marin or Machete. There's none of that in this movie, so you're forcing these kids to basically carry the film on their own with lackluster, weak material. The weak material also makes some of the arcs these kids go through kind of suffer as well. I would say Tony is the one that gets more of a character arc as opposed to his sister, because as we see over the course of the film, Tony loves to cheat while playing this video game. So over the course of the movie, with the help of his sister, he has to try to become honest while also being a spy, which I do think is kind of a conflicting thing here, that his sister reinforces even with her parents, that you gotta try and do things the nice way while being a spy, which is a lesson I'm not a big fan of. I get it's for kids, but could you imagine if James Bond or Ethan Hunt in the final battle with the antagonist just tries to be nice to the antagonist to defeat him as opposed to fighting him? I haven't even touched upon yet the villain of the movie, which is Billy Magnuson's character. Overall, just a really bad villain. His performance isn't very good, but once you find out the motivations for this character becoming a villain and creating this game called High Score that implants a virus to lock everyone out of their devices to make them play video games, it's just ridiculously weak motivations at large, especially when they try to connect it with the family in the movie and why he's targeting them. That and the big MacGuffin of the movie, the Armageddon code, which lets you hack into basically anything in the entire world. It's a very obvious commentary on technology, but at the same time, it's just kind of dumb because you have all of these characters having to be dumbed down to make this concept work, where for some reason in this universe of Spy Kids, no adults know how to play video games. We see so many times throughout the movie, these adults are locked out of their devices, their homes, their ATMs, because they aren't able to play a very simple level of a video game. The only people in the entire world that apparently know how to play video games are these two children. So many of these various different criticisms could be wiped away if at the very least I was having fun while watching this adventure unfold. The excitement just isn't there. Even when we get these fight sequences, they look extremely bad. VFX work here is poor. At this point in time, we've seen it with these previous Spy Kid films and We Can Be Heroes. I think it's just a stylistic choice that Robert Rodriguez has for these movies now, because it's inexcusable how clear as day it is bad green screen work. It used to be kind of excusable 2 decades ago when the Spy Kids films were first coming out, but now we've seen how good VFX work can be, and I wish that we just had that same level of competence in these Spy Kids movies. The poor VFX work is the most egregious in the final battle when all the family goes inside of the video game. There's actually one part in the final battle that I thought was kind of a funny coincidence, where it feels like we're literally just ripping off the battle on Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith. Robert Rodriguez, of course, has directed several episodes of Star Wars, the Disney Plus shows. All I could think about when Tony is fighting the king on this one part of the final battle was Obi-Wan versus Anakin in the Battle of Mustafar. Overall, Spy Kids Armageddon is a disappointing new attempt at reinvigorating the franchise. As much as I wanted to love this adventure, it just lacks the charm and lacks effort to connect with older fans of the franchise, but I also think it fails at trying to bring in new fans like a reboot should. If I were you, I would probably just stick to watching the first 3 Spy Kids. Now I guess that means there's 2 forgettable Spy Kids entries in the franchise, but now I've heard my thoughts on Spy Kids Armageddon. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Show your thoughts down below in the comment section. It gives part of the fun and the conversation you guys in the comment section down below. And thank you guys, as always, for videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, see you guys later.